of course, it's all about Lammens. It's all about the Belgian keeper from Royal Antwerp, the 23-year-old, the youngster, the future of Belgian football after Thibaut Courtois, the world class.
You say youngster, Flex. He's not that young.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean?
As Ty would say, in football terms, but in goalkeeping terms.
23. 23. Yeah. You know what I mean?
That's goalkeeping.
You know what I mean?
Mate, listen, Owen, we had Van der Sar at like 40 odds, yeah.
Oh yeah, I don't disagree with that. But it's not like it's not like we're signing an 18-year-old. I mean, this is ready to go. You know what I mean? Ready to go right now.
Yeah,
true.
But yes, Flex. Obviously, I saw you did your Flex's view earlier on it, and since then we have had a little bit of a development. We've had a little bit of just a smidge of back and forth between a few journalists about this. This is quite interesting, which we'll talk about in just a second. But Alex Crookie from TalkSport said that Manchester United have now agreed personal terms with Senne Lammens. Andre Onana is expected to stay even if Lammens joins. That last line there we're going to talk about is pretty critical. Now, Simon Stone also as well has reported, and when Simon Stone's reporting, he's talking to the club. He said has been contact between Manchester United and Royal Antwerp around goalkeeper Senne Lammens. However, with Tom Heaton having signed a 1-year deal this summer, the feeling is that United would not bring in another goalkeeper without someone leaving. Now, interestingly, Ruben Amorim said in his press conference earlier today, he confirmed that
I forgot about the press conference.
Andre Onana is fit to play, just like he was last week, which again is an interesting one. It's an interesting one to point out there. And once again, TalkSport have said that Lammens is likely to cost around £17 million and will be brought in to compete with Onana for United's number 1 jersey. Sources in Belgium say personal terms between Lammens and United have already been agreed. Now, this is quite interesting because yesterday on Trafford Talk, this was something that James and myself spoke about, actually, what Laurie Whitwell had said. Laurie Whitwell said that it was interesting how Andre Onana could have played last week, but a decision was made by Ruben Amorim to not play him. And it was very much a feeling of at the time, like, oh, no, it's just fitness, played a lot of preseason. But there was this like, no, he could have played, and Ruben decided not to play him. So for him today to go in the press conference and say, yeah, he's fit. He was fit last week as well. That's a little bit interesting. And this narrative being put out there, clearly, I think, by Manchester United, that he's coming in to compete with Andre Onana, sounds a lot to me like we're very conscious Andre Onana doesn't want to and probably won't leave. So we've got to sort of deal with that for at least a year. So we've got to make sure that he's not too upset by bringing in a goalkeeper, that it's merely for competition. He's not coming in and taking your spots. But also, the manager's kind of not feeling you a little bit because he could have put you straight in for the opener last week and he didn't. Thoughts?
I think there's something in it. Otherwise, why are we getting a goalie? Just that. If everything was as Amorim said it was, when people get angry and he says, when he stared down Luckhurst and he defended Altai was amazing against Arsenal and all of these things. I'm happy with
really incredible. Really.
All these things are true. Why have we agreed personal terms with Lammens? So I was never worried at the fact that he passionately defended player. Newsflash. Manager defends player in the public. Like, that's your job. You're supposed to. And guess what? Last time I checked, Lammens is not going to be here by Fulham. And you need to rely on one of these two keepers you've got. So, and it's the same with the midfielders when he's been like, I'm happy with my midfield, or I'm happy if the guys who are, like you said, we don't like calling them bomb squad, but the guys who have been separate, if they arrive back, I'm happy to have them back. All of this stuff that's in front of the cameras. If you're still falling for that as a Man United fan in 2025, when you've seen the presses, you know how it works, then we can't really help you with that. You can't believe when the manager says, I'm happy with this, I'm happy with that. What shows you what the manager is or isn't happy with is who we buy, who we sell, and who we start in the games. And it tells you more of a feeling of how he's thinking about things. So the fact that he said, Onana's fit like he was last week, and he didn't play then. So we'll wait and see. And I've seen one of the journalists sort of say, if this Lammens guy comes, it's going to if Onana, I think it was Luckhurst, if Onana starts, it will kill Bayandier's confidence and all this stuff. I don't think Bayandier, unless again, we're not privy, but I don't think he's ever been told he's going to be the number one. You're taking over from Andre. But he has been used as this sort of wake-up call for Andre, like a bit of a pawn. So I'm not going to say I feel sorry for him, because it kind of is the job of a second goalkeeper. You know, when you sign up as a second goalkeeper and there is the out-and-out number one, you know it's very unlikely, unless there's a big set of circumstances where you become the number one. And your role is to push that number one, i.e. if that number one drops off and makes some silly mistakes or has some off-field mishaps, or the attitude's not right and the manager wants to go, right, I'm not having you, I'm playing you. You ready? You have to be ready. That's your job. The third keeper, less so. That's just in training, making sure that the competition's high and the standards are high and you're training well. So, yeah, I'm confident that this Lammens thing will happen. Now I've seen what I've seen. I don't see why United would agree personal terms if they didn't want him. And they're clearly not happy in that department. I still stick to what I said in my Flex's view, though. I don't think it'll be Onana who will make way. I think it'll be Bayindir that will make way.
Yeah, and I think even that first game could be a bit of clever management. You know, none of our keepers are that good. Let's put Bayindir in the shop window, give him a game. Actually did some things well in that game. He's on much lower wages than Onana, much easier to shift than Onana. Bought him for a few million, you know, like he could easily be sold or loaned back to Turkey or something like that in the coming weeks, which in that window is open till, you know, mid-September, right? To go somewhere like Turkey. So there's certainly the possibility of get somebody now, move somebody later, and it puts pressure on the whole group to say there's even less spots than there used to be. Like you look at the Šeško and Højlund situation. Højlund was starting games, then we buy Benjamin Šeško, and he's out, and he's not even in the squad. Gone. And now it's like, well, you got to go, you know, now you got to make that decision to leave. And I could see the same thing happening on the keeper front, you know, that Lammens comes in. You've got 4 keepers now, and you're making that clear decision like someone's got to go. Someone's got to leave, or you're just not going to play at all this season, no matter what. And it's not going to be Tom Heaton, because he doesn't care if he doesn't play all season, because that's what he's there for, to be that third goalkeeper, you know, that absolute emergency kind of goalkeeper. I think the only thing that actually has been ruled out, and I think United have been pretty clever with this in their wording on some of these reports that journalists are putting out and things like that, is we're not going to sign someone like Donnarumma. That's not happening. We're not going to do something like that this summer. We're not signing an expensive number one goalkeeper. We're not going to pay 40, 50 million for somebody. We're not going to be paying 250,000 a week and have them in there and Onana in there. That's just not happening. Because I kind of caught the clever wording in there of like, you had Luckhurst's report saying, you know, if they sign a keeper, it's not going to, you know, he doesn't even say if they sign a keeper. He says they're just not going to bring in a headliner number one. And then you read like Rob Dawson's thing and it says they're looking at Lammens, but he's not a number one. And you go, well, then he hasn't really been ruled out at all, has he? And they're in talks with Antwerp. They've made contact. They wouldn't be doing that if they weren't trying to sign him, agreeing personal terms, making contact with the club, confirmed by Simon Stone, by Fabrizio, by so many others. They're trying to sign this player. They're trying to sign him. Yeah. It's not even a question anymore. It's confirmed.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's quite interesting, actually, just looking at online what people are saying about him. I was just reading an article on Transfer Market because I remember the stat that a few weeks ago there was something saying about he had one of the stats of like he'd made the most saves out of any goalkeeper across Europe last season, which is kind of a remarkable stat when you think about it. And they interviewed Bart Tamsin, who is a Belgian football expert. He also used to be a former scout for Club Brugge in Belgium. And this is about, he was asked about strengths and weaknesses and things like that. Lammens is widely viewed in Belgium as the long-term replacement for Courtois with the national team. His underlying numbers highlight his incredible potential, and he possesses an impressive skill set, but there's naturally areas for improvement. Tamsin explains, quote, Lammens has an incredibly strong mentality and remains calm in all circumstances. He also proved last season that he has real goalkeeping qualities, as no one made more saves in the Belgian league than he did. In addition, Lammens is a goalkeeper who looks for the footballing solution and is comfortable with both his right and left foot. So you go, oh, no, sounds okay, sounds okay. But then this is when you get a bit nervy. On areas to improve, Tamsin said, quote, to be truly top class, he just needs to improve his accuracy. He dares to make a mistake every game, usually because he still lacks experience in certain situations. These are usually minor mistakes, such as a poor kick, but a few have led to goals being conceded due to a misplaced pass or misjudgment of the situation.
Mate, I've seen Raya do that.
However, given that he has only just completed his first season as a first-choice goalkeeper,
he's young,
he certainly has room for improvement. And to be honest, and I'll keep the same energy here, I've mentioned this many a time when it comes to Andre Onana, and it's the same with any goalkeeper. I have no issue with goalkeepers making mistakes because they misplace a pass or they make a bit of an error.
I mean, went back to what you were saying, when you say, don't tell me you can't get a keeper like for cheap.
Oh, yeah,
between
of course.
13 and 17 million. Like, it's nothing. It really is. It's not, is it? Oh, do you have to put that back? Oh, there you go. Yeah. It's nothing. So in terms of metrics, I've read good stuff. The scholars, I've reached out on X and said, enlighten me. They're saying he's good. But I've never seen him play. And actually, that article you just found, Owen, backs up that, listen, he's pretty decent. He's pretty good, actually. Just needs to work on this thing. So we're reading good stuff. Obviously, baptism of fire, coming to United, pressure, Premier League, all of that good stuff. And do you know what? If he does come, would he, if he's unsure about Onana now, would he just sign this kid and put him straight in? I don't know if he would. I don't think he'd do that. But clearly, he's going to be there to play some games.
I mean, he doesn't have much confidence in any of the keepers, as far as we can tell. And that's kind of the thing where you think he might just do it. I mean, if you get him in before Grimsby, maybe that's a good game.